Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, the state of Minnesota, is it back in play? Well, a poll that was released today is indicating that the race is razor thin. And we do know this. If Michigan is Trump plus 3 right now in the polls, it would make sense that Minnesota would also be more competitive than it was in 2020. And so much to the whole Biden surge phenomenon, because Donald Trump has surged in the state of Minnesota in this poll, and now the state has moved to just Biden plus 2. Donald Trump is within the margin of error in the state of Minnesota, which is absolutely huge ahead of this November. It truly is, because it shows that Biden is struggling to even keep states that he won by 7 percentage points in his column. It means that he's going to have to be spending an ample amount of resources defending certain states that he easily had no problem with in 2020. And it's funny because Biden's dumping a lot of support into Texas, Florida, North Carolina, states that are extremely difficult for him to flip. With the exception of North Carolina, I cannot see any scenario that he's going to flip Texas or Florida. I still don't believe he really has much of a shot at North Carolina, even though it's likely going to be closer than the other two. But Minnesota, this is an interesting state because you look at the primary in Minnesota. We hear about the uncommitted vote in Michigan, but in Minnesota, it got 19%. 19%. 70,000 Democrats voted against Joe Biden. And you didn't have a lot of Republicans crossing over into this primary, but you did have a lot of Democrats crossing over into the Republican primary to vote for Nikki Haley. But still, in the state of Minnesota, Donald Trump got more votes than Biden, and Trump plus the non-Biden Dem votes got more votes than Biden plus the Haley votes, even though some of the Haley votes are going to eventually come home to Donald Trump. But it's showing that Biden is struggling among the whole progressive voting bloc, the Bernie bros in the Minneapolis area, the radical left. He is struggling. He got 64% in Hennepin County. He got 69% in Ramsey County. And this is not because of Dean Phillips being from Minnesota. He did a couple points better in the state, but still, uncommitted did extremely well. That wasn't enough to really give Biden a poor showing. And it's important to note that you do have a lot of Somali voters who are upset with how he's handled the Israeli-Palestine conflict, but also you just have a lot of white liberals there as well who are upset and are not as enthused to turn out for him. And you also have third-party candidates like Cornel West and Jill Stein and RFK Jr. And Minnesota's a state that has a tendency to have a high third-party vote share when there are prominent third parties in the mix. They tend to have a mind of their own when it comes down to voting. 2016, for example, Donald Trump was knocking on the door. He fell short by just around 40,000 votes in the state. And why did this happen? Well, because you had about 9% or so of the electorate that voted third party. And in 2020, you could look at this here. There was not really that big third party vote share, and Biden ended up winning the state relatively easily. So is this a guaranteed flip? No, but is this a sleeper flip? Absolutely. This is not the only poll that we've seen out of Minnesota that has Minnesota close. But when you look at the track record of this poll, Survey USA nationally is not really all that great, but in the state of Minnesota, especially when they're combined with the KTSP network pollster, which is local to Minnesota, they've got a pretty damn good track record. And you could see this here in 2020. Their final presidential poll was Biden by 6, and he ended up taking it by 7. In 2022, they said that Walz would win by 8. He won by 7.7. So when it's all said and done, this pollster tends to be accurate more so than not. Of course, we do have a long way to go, but you're looking at the state of Minnesota. This is a state that Biden's going to have problems in, and a state he has to defend. And like I said, a big part of that is the third-party vote share. In this poll, 11% went other, and that's without any specific names being polled as well. They just say other. and 11% say other, 4% say undecided. Trump is within the margin of error, even if you cut the margin of error of the poll in half, which is absolutely good news for Donald Trump. 2016, we talk about the high third-party vote share, but also 2008 Senate race. Even though Obama won the state very comfortably, the Senate race, well, we all know what happened in this Senate race. I mean, you guys can read about it. It was a mess. But Norm Coleman and Al Franken, neck and neck. And then in 2002, the last time the state elected a Republican governor for the first time, 16.2% of the electorate went third party. Even in the re-election bid for Paul Ince, even though the year was very good for Democrats, he still ended up winning, partially because of the fact that the third-party candidate that was involved in this race took 6.4% of the vote away. So in every single possible instance where we see Republicans closing in on Democrats, I'd say for the most part, it seems as if there's a big, high third-party vote share that tends to take votes away from Democrats. And you're probably going to see that again, especially because Democrats in the state are not all that enthused right now with Joe Biden. We saw this go down on Super Tuesday. They talk about the uncommitted vote in Michigan. It is true the Michigan primary had higher turnout overall, but still, that uncommitted margin was 46,000 votes. And it's not just the Muslims. It's not just the Somali vote that's impacting Biden negatively. It is the white progressives, and that's partially why he's trying to run a campaign that's solely appealing to them, because he thinks he's going to be able to win with his base. And is it exactly going to work out for him? We have really yet to see. It seems like Donald Trump is kind of neutralizing some of these issues that would, be very helpful for Democrats in terms of like the issue of abortion, for example. We did see what happened in Arizona today. We'll be talking about that later tonight on the stream, but I don't think it's going to impact Trump that much because A, it's not a number one issue, B, it's likely going to be resolved, and C, Trump is taking an approach that kind of takes the issue off of the table. And in a state like Minnesota, where it's already decided to be legal at the state level, is this really going to hurt Donald Trump when Donald Trump is coming out and saying, I'm going to leave it up to the states, not in Minnesota? We could talk about Arizona if it's not resolved for sure. It doesn't even seem like the ban's going to be enforced. But still, Minnesota, yeah, Democrats are really going to struggle in the state, at least compared to 2020. Doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to lose it. Trump doesn't need Minnesota to win, but if he has those 10 electoral votes in his column, well, he's going to have a lot more pathways to victory, and at a minimum, it's going to force Joe Biden to spend and burn resources on the state of Minnesota. But as of right now, he's burning resources in Florida, in Texas, in states that he virtually has zero shot of winning, and he's really struggling in some of these upper Midwestern states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and I guess now you could throw Minnesota into the mix, where 2020 was a little bit of a different story. Minnesota, it is true, 2020, a lot of people initially said, including myself, well, Trump's going to have a shot here because of BLM. Well, it turns out that the residents of the Minneapolis metropolitan area tend to hate themselves, and they felt more sympathy for the people burning down Minnesota than they felt for the fact that they were having their city burned down over a lie. And now that's kind of out of the picture. BLM, as of right now, it's not a major issue. The Democrat coalition of 2020 was not all that sustainable. And now we're starting to see the cracks in the foundation, and states like Minnesota are being put into play. States like Maine, Virginia will be closer. New Mexico's a sleeper. I'm not saying Trump's going to even win any of those states, nor am I saying that he needs to win any of them, with the exception of the 2nd District in Maine, where he's going to win anyways. But it shows that this election is more like 2016 than 2020. I did a video a couple videos ago, and it rings true, folks. It really does. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.